So when we first got our pigs, they were just, just little piglets, and we brought them out here on our farm. And I had a pen set up with like wire hog panels so that they couldn't just push through, because you have to have that at the beginning. I had this shade shelter in there, and there was one small hole that I had that I knew I needed to deal with, and I went to go get the pigs, and I kind of forgot about it. Well, would you know it, I put them in there, and within that was like the first corner that they went to. They were new to the property. They were looking for the rest of the litter, and so they ran to that corner and straight out the hole. And then the next 30 minutes we spent running around trying to catch them. I'm Matthias.
And I'm Rosie, and we're the Pasture Pioneers.
So we really like the netting that we use. We got it from Premier One, and it's specifically made for pigs. And one of the important things with that is that it actually sits above the ground about 6 inches here, the bottom strand. And that is because pigs will root. And so when they turn that sod up, and it ends up, if it's all the way down on the ground, the sod will end up just going right onto the fence, and they end up just covering it up. But if it sits up off the ground like this, it tends to not get buried and get shorted out. The way that we train our pigs to electric netting is we have a permanent, semi-permanent structure with wire hog panels, and I put them in there for at least a week so that they can't get out. And then on the inside of that, I'll run a strand of hot wire, or one or two strands of hot wire, just along the edge of it. And they'll bump into it, and they see, okay, they get shocked whenever they hit this. If you don't do that and you put them into a pen just like this when they're small and it's just electric netting, when they hit that, they'll just charge right on through. And so you have to train them with a hard surface behind it that they can't get through it until they know that it's electrified and understand that that's not something they want to go through. So of all the animals that we have in the farm, the pigs are probably the smartest. We like the large blacks because of the amount of lard that they give. So they are considered a lard pig, but they also have a lot of meat. They're an old-fashioned breed, and they do a lot better on a homestead where you have scraps from the garden, from the kitchen. So we've considered using other breeds. For instance, one of the ones that I hear talked about a lot is Coonies. But also from the research that I've done, they have a very large amount of lard. Like for the same size pig, you would end up with a lot less meat, and your pork chops would be smaller. So while they will survive or thrive more on a grass-based diet, there are downsides to that as well. So we feed our pigs scraps from the garden, from the kitchen. Basically, the only thing we try to avoid feeding them is meat. But any type of vegetable cutoffs, even like rotten vegetables, that type of thing, it's really helpful to have them on our homestead because it reduces the amount of waste that we have. So one of the things that can be really difficult to figure out with pigs is getting them water. They are known for digging, and if they have any type of water, they will dig a wallow, and they will just make a mud mess if they at all possibly can. So this year, this is the first year we've done it like this, where it's pretty mobile. So I just took a 55-gallon barrel, cut the top off, and mounted it to a pallet. And I think I got this idea from Joel Salatin. And then it's got a water nipple mounted on the bottom of it. And so far it's worked really good, because with the amount, if the barrel's, say half full, they really can't push this around. And with it being right in front, with it being mounted on a pallet, they can't root as bad. And like say if this nipple is dripping water, they will sit there, and they're actually smart enough, they'll actually lean up against it and make the water run out. And so with the pallet being right there, it doesn't just allow it to sit right on the ground and they'd end up wallowing in it. So we raise our pigs at the beginning of we get them as piglets at the beginning of the year. A number of reasons why we do that. For one thing, their harvest stage is at the end of fall, beginning of winter. So we don't have to worry about, getting them water when it's frozen outside and their water freezing, keeping them warm. And it also tends to land right around the time of our garden. So if we do have extra stuff from the garden, we can give that to them. So ours tend to finish out in about 7 to 8 months. So if we get them in the spring, they tend to be ready to butcher about the end of fall. So we feed our pigs non-GMO grain mix that we get from a feed mill that's about 2 hours north of us. But it is important to us that it's non-GMO. If we're going to be raising our own pigs, why not go for the best meat that we can raise? So another critical factor with pigs is shade. They do need shade in the heat. They don't necessarily need a permanent structure type of thing, and kind of the way that we have it set up here is we have everything to where it's mobile. So we can move the shade for them, the water for them, and the fencing. That's really critical where we're at because we like to be able to move our animals around and not just have them in one spot all the time. And so where they're sitting at right now as well, this was like a big pile of wood chips that we had. They just really flattened it out. But it's also helpful to have things like this instead of just being right on the dirt. If they're just straight on the dirt, and you leave them there, it just becomes like a mud pen. And we try to avoid that. Ideally, we'd have them out on pasture and eating all the grass, but they have just been rooting so much, and it's just been really destructive. So we've put them in this section where they are now, which next year will be our garden. So given that pigs are so good at tilling, if you have the space for it, a really good way to use them is to put them in like your woods where you've got a thick patch of briars, that sort of thing. Like they will clear land, and they're really good at it. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't let pigs, like if pigs is something you want to get into, don't let their size intimidate you. You do start out with, if you get piglets, they're small, and we really enjoy having them on our farm, and especially the bacon. We enjoy the bacon. Tune in next week for another video, and please leave a comment with any questions.